Hi folks, this has been a crazy week in the markets. Basically, we see the NASDAQ releasing a very important signal here. What is that signal? And also Tesla down 10% in one day and still looking to fall. Where's the support for the bounce, if there is going to be a bounce? So as you all know me, we've been pretty accurate this year. That's why I'm releasing a new one, because now there's very important signal coming in from the NASDAQ and perhaps Bitcoin as well. First of all, let's have a look at how our signals have been performing this year. So far, it's been very accurate. So this was posted in January earlier this year.
But either way, I'm expecting a breakout from the SP 500 in the first 3 months, and then for the next 6 to 9 months, I think it can get to grind to about this area, which is 460 or 4,600 on the SP 500, and eventually might even try to challenge this 480 or 4,800 on the SP 500. Whether it breaks into a new high or not, I can't know at this stage, but I am expecting a move from the SP 500 to up around here.
So folks, that was the earlier video from January this year. And as you can see, that has been very, very accurate so far with the calls. Where is the SP 500 now? Now almost exactly at this 460 area, just a little bit shy, right? But it is giving us right now an important message or signal. And also Bitcoin is giving us a major important signal as well. I'll get to that in a little bit. So now, first of all, let's have a look at that video, as you can see, was made on March 24th, which was just as, SP 500 was about to make this move. The even bigger signal is coming from the NASDAQ. So here we are with the NASDAQ, right? Now, as we can see, the NASDAQ here there's a couple of reasons. For the same reasons I'm saying that a pullback is likely here. Why did I say 460 on the SPDR SP 500 ETF? Why did I say 460? It's because first of all, you have all these tops and bottoms. So that's strong resistance area, right? Around this 450-ish area. You have these tops, like 4 weekly tops around here, right? And you have these bottoms, another 3 or so weekly bottoms around the 460 area. Plus, right, you have this big channel that the SP 500 has been traveling in for about 10 months now. So you have 2 strong levels here. There's a good chance it pulls back. And now you've got earnings seasons coming up. For the QQQ or the NASDAQ ETF, I'm thinking the same thing. So again, my call came here January 23rd, right, on the Monday. So at this 284 level, and since it's been pumping a massive run, and then look at this. This is a topping tail, right? It's not reliable on its own. We have to look for other signs. So a topping tail, and then we look at its heavy volume, right? Look at this. This is around, this volume is the largest selling volume, red bar, since March the 6th. So it's been 4.5 months. It's been massive, the largest selling volume for 4.5 months. And it comes after this massively extended move, like a 35-40% move on the NASDAQ index. So this is where we got to be really careful. It's also hitting the top of this channel, right? You've got a bunch of, so at this 380, 390 level, you got a bunch of old tops, right? Old bottoms here, right? So I'm thinking a pullback to around, say, low 350s with a chance of even high 40s around here, then bounce up and make a double top, or even take out the old top and head higher. However, as most of you know, if you've been following me, I'm not calling this a new bull market. What I've been saying all along is that this is a big bounce, small bull. The reason why I call it a small bull market is because, see, a new big bull market is when you have the markets essentially, like in the year 2009, markets bottomed around 2010 after the great GFC, and then basically we had this massive bounce, right? Massive bounce a massive bull run. It's multi-year, like a decade, 12, 13 years long, and went all the way to basically 6x. The NASDAQ did a 6x on the index, and a lot of stocks made like 30x, 50x. But however, I don't think that's happening right now to the NASDAQ or with Bitcoin. So what I've been calling it is a small bull, big bounce, meaning that you can call it a small bull market. It's not going to be like a multi-year, another 5-10 year bull market run. It's more likely to last 6 months, 12 months from now, until the recession hits. That's the more likely scenario. Nothing's 100%, but that's the scenario that I'm more thinking of. And also, if you are, then we got to look for a top and when the exit comes. Now, for the eventual top, I'll give you guys my best guess, right? But if in the next video, if you guys keep on following me, but however, for this video, I'm just here to offer this warning that this is a top in tail, and it looks like a pullback on the QQQ is coming. Why do we think this is about to happen? Well, because you've already seen that Tesla. Oh, by the way, here's Tesla. Tesla. I've been, as you can see, I've told the guys in my Discord to short it around 300. Right, came very close. Oh, actually, did it? Yeah, came extremely close to 300. And then basically went down 10% in one day, and that's this is all posted on Twitter and on Threads as well. The reason why I told everyone it was 300 is because, as you can see in that chart, it was basically pretty much this massive channel, right? Tesla is in. It's just waiting to hit that 300 psychological barrier and then pull back. Support is around this 240 area, right? Wait, am I using? Okay, I'll change it to regular. That's better. That's better looking. Support is probably a little bit higher, around this 248, 247. Let's call it mid 240 area because of this massive red trend line. Now, at the time, I didn't know. This call was made to my Discord, and I've copied it since onto Twitter. And at the time, I didn't know it was going to be a high or I didn't know what the Tesla earnings was going to be. It was going to beat expectations. Was it going to miss expectations? I didn't really know. But what I did know is that this 300 area is massive support. And do you know what Tesla did? Tesla actually beat expectations on sales, on revenue, and on profit, right? Net earnings. It was a great report, and yet Elon was happy about it, and yet it still went down a lot, right? 10% in one day. Why? Because the market picked on some silly reason, which says it's doing some factory maintenance, so therefore Q3 factory deliveries are not going to be up to expectations. But isn't that good for long term if you're doing some maintenance and then you ramp up productions even more? Anyways, what I'm trying to say is, on very good news, the market tanks 10% on Tesla. What that shows is basically the market right now is looking for a reason to sell. It's been a hectic run up. The market is looking to take some profits into the profit reporting season. So over the next 2 weeks or so, we have these real majors coming out like Apple, Google, Meta, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, these big ones. And it's looking like if they even have a small miss, whether it's revenue or profit, they can tank hard, right? NVIDIA as well. But even if they hit their targets, the market is going to nitpick and find some small reason and probably sell it. These 7 stocks plus Tesla has been what I call the AI 7, and they've been pretty much carrying this market, carrying this entire rally in the NASDAQ. Yes, we just saw the chart. The NASDAQ has had a marvelous run, but it's not all of the stocks in NASDAQ. It's basically those 7 or 8 stocks, what I call the AI 7 or the AI 8 stocks, pretty much carried about 90 to 95% of the market cap increases in NASDAQ. So if they have some sort of little miss with their earnings, where if they say something with, I don't know, production facility, India, China production facility, whatever forecast that the market's not happy about, be ready for, 5 to 10% pullback. And that would make it a 5 to 10% pullback overall on the NASDAQ or the NASDAQ 100. Okay, so now let's look at Bitcoin and some of the other markets. Okay, so how did we do on Bitcoin? Here was the forecast. This again is from the same video, January this year.
This time, we're probably not going to get a pump to a new all-time high, but probably a small pump to say somewhere like 32K, like high 20s, 32, 34, looks about right. Might even go as high as 40s, right? I mean, without looking too closely at a Bitcoin chart, basically I'm thinking a pump to stop around somewhere around here, which is what, 32 to 40K area.
Okay, so that was made in January 23rd, the video on YouTube. And let's see where Bitcoins is. It's basically right now hit just under 32K, right? Just under 32K. And, this was made at a time before all of the bullish news has come out. So, of course, I'm not Nostradamus. I'm not one of those guys who's going to basically say, hey, look, I said it's going to be 32K, 6 months ago, and that's where it is. It is there exactly right now. It's at 32K, and that's a pretty accurate call. However, things happen along the way, and I would like to update my calls, right? So basically at the time, it basically said it's 32K. Now, since then, we've had so many news hit in the last few months. We've had BlackRock, right? Coming out with the ETF, Fidelity coming out with a Bitcoin ETF. Like 3 or 4 Wall Street firms have launched a institutional level crypto exchange, right? You're trading only 4 coins, but that's a pretty good start. We've had XRP win the lawsuit. We've had the US dollar crash, right, since then, because back then, 7 months ago in January, the SP 500 was the US dollar was around 110, 112. Now it's crashed all the way down to 99. So all those things, and it looks like it could go further over the next 6 to 12 months. So all of those things make the situation different on Bitcoin. And you've also had the new Democratic presidential nominee, possibly, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., RFK, say that he wants to back the US dollar with Bitcoin and gold and platinum and silver. So, which is, quite incredible, because he's actually polling better than both Trump and Biden. So, where do we think, so taking all of that in mind, at the start of the year, you just saw in the video, my target was something like 32K, 34K. Why? Because that would complete a inverse head and shoulders on Bitcoin, which is this one. So, folks in my Discord knows this. So we've got a shoulder, head, shoulder. If it was to complete this pattern, the target would be around 34K, right? That's why earlier I said 32 to 34K in my videos. However, the chances are it could pump to the 40K area. And now, basically, with all these positive news coming out, I must revise my forecast, because I didn't know what BlackRock was going to do. If I knew a BlackRock ETF was coming, I didn't think it was going to come this early, right? You would wait for the recession first, but maybe BlackRock doesn't think there's going to be a recession. Hang on one second. Okay, so BlackRock probably doesn't think a recession is going to come in the next 6 to 12 months. That's their forecast. That's not my forecast. If that's the case, then basically they want to release the news now that they're doing an ETF. I didn't know Robert F. Kennedy, one of the real likely chances of the next U.S. president, was going to come out and say, "Hey, look, we're were going to, back US dollar with Bitcoin if I was elected. I didn't know that Wall Street was going to launch this exchange in Bitcoin this early. I didn't know XRP was going to win the lawsuit, right? Win the lawsuit this early. So all of this makes me obviously more bullish on Bitcoin now. So is it possible for Bitcoin to run into the 50s? It's looking possible. If the Federal Reserve, depends on if there's a recession or not, which I think there will be. If there is a small recession, but it's a mild recession, it is possible Bitcoin may not get back down to 15K again and might keep going from here, right? It is possible a new cycle has started. So this was my forecast. So this was January 24th, but on Twitter. And, as you can see, 25,000 people saw this. I said, this is probably the best Bitcoin indicator. It's basically the Chinese money pump. I use this this indicator, which is Chinese 10-year yield divided by the US dollar index. Don't worry about the technicalities. If you want to know what it is, you can go back and have a look in the old videos from January 23rd. And basically, it's saying that China's pumping money, so it's been very accurate in history, right? Now showing a bull signal based on China pumping money. I'm not expecting a new all-time high in Bitcoin, just a big bounce, right? And basically this came out one day after the YouTube video. Should be a big bounce for crypto, but the key is obviously to watch for recession later in 23, 24. Okay, so what has changed and what hasn't changed since then? I still think the key is to watch for a major recession in Bitcoin and in the United States. I think the odds of that has slightly improved for the United States not to have a recession. But overall, if I had to be a betting man, if I had to take a gamble, I would still lean towards a recession coming for the United States. So overall, that part hasn't changed. Well, I'm still going to update you guys in my future videos on the recession risks of the United States. However, in the meantime, because all these bullish news have come out, the probability of Bitcoin going much higher into the 50s and into the 60s is actually quite possible now. Can it take out the new all-time high? That depends on when the recession comes, because eventually I am a long-term believer in Bitcoin. I do think it is headed to these much higher areas. So therefore, we could see, in say 5 years time, 10 years time, we could see Bitcoin at say 150K, even 200K. It's possible in 10 years time, 5 years time. Whether it dips below back to 15K or not. See, I've said it last time. I said, if we get a recession, Fed cuts rates quickly, stock market, Bitcoin, and crypto crashes again, could be a higher low than 15K. But if it's a bad recession, could easily be a lower low, right? The only thing I would change from all of that I said previously is that basically if we get a major pullback, if we get a major recession, it can still go below 15K, but that has to be like really mild depression kind of territory. Obviously now you've got all these Wall Street whales waiting to buy because their ETFs are coming. Fidelity, BlackRock, these are the biggest hedge funds out there. There's literally nothing bigger than them. Not even those Chinese banks are bigger than them. So therefore, we think this is going to be, a very, very bullish. It's going to support Bitcoin prices if Bitcoin dips to 20K again. So basically, in summary, I'll try to summarize this in one sentence. If the recession comes, which I still think is the more likely probability, later this year, early next year, if it was delayed, when the recession comes, basically U.S. Stocks will tank. You see the Fed cutting rates and cut it aggressively, like 50 points, even 100 basis points in one meeting. And when that happens, basically, stocks, that when they cut rates is actually when stocks and Bitcoin starts crashing. Before all this bullish news came out, it is possible for Bitcoin to go below 15K or back to 15K for a double bottom, 12K to 15K, as a lot of my videos and tweets have been saying. However, lately, because of all these bullish news, you've got the Wall Street guys coming in to buy. You've got a lot of the Bitcoin whales, natives in the space as well, knowing that Wall Street's going to buy it, they're going to come in to buy as well. So you're going to see a lot of buying support once Bitcoin gets to low 20s, or if it goes below 20K. It would take a mild depression for Bitcoin to go below 15K again, in my opinion. Something has to go really, really horribly wrong. So I am lowering the probability of Bitcoin going below 15K again. Bitcoin back to 20K, even below 20K, it's still quite possible in a recession scenario where, if we see the Federal Reserve starts cutting rates quite aggressively, and if we see the SP 500 take a tumble. Okay, so this is Pablo Jimenez back by invitation, because a lot of folks in my Discord has been asking for these longer videos again. So now I'm making them, and of course, as usual, folks in my Discord will see this video for 2 days earlier before we go to the put it for free on YouTube. One more last thing I'd just like to remind everyone about is this. So earlier this year, okay, a couple of things. Watching the Greed and Fear Index, it's not always accurate, but the SP 500 is in the extreme greed area. Of course, it can be anywhere between 75 to 100. We've been watching it ratchet up, ratchet up, ratchet up. I think it's time for a pullback. This is another part of the reason. Another part of the reason is because we've seen this is the most crowded trade on Wall Street right now for fund managers, right? They are going long big tech. Big tech is those companies I've been talking about: Tesla, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia, those ones. It's too crowded, like 60% of them. 60% of them. If they've gone from 55% to 60%, it's gone even more crowded. A pullback is most likely due. Long Japanese equities gone from 15% to now 15% of the market of the fund managers are doing this. Short China equities, it was at 15%, so very crowded as well, and now they're shorting a less. So therefore, what does that mean? When something becomes a very crowded trade, then we can expect it to reverse, because the majority of the people in the market, even fund managers, cannot make money. It's just not physically possible for the market to work that way. So therefore, we're expecting those three things to reverse, which means that the long U.S. equities trade, right? The long U.S. equities trade, long those 7 AI stocks, that's probably going to reverse for now. We're going to see, likely, depending on the factors we're looking at so far, a decent sharp pullback on all the these large mega tech NASDAQ stocks, but also a pullback on the Japanese Nikkei index, and by a similar vein, a bounce, and probably a big bounce on some of those Chinese stocks, Hong Kong stocks as well. Probably within the next, anywhere between the next 2 weeks to say 2 months. Okay, this is Pablo Jimenez, enjoying making these videos again for you guys, longer videos, so we get a better understanding of the market. Pablo Jimenez signing out. Follow me for more. Cheers.